Okay, in this last segment of our first day debrief at South by Southwest, we had a involved discussion on a seminar that one of our members went to that was on the implementation of AI in agriculture and sustainable development goals. And as we went through that, this led to a general discussion about artificial intelligence, how it is being implemented, how we are in competition with China and the race to achieve AGI. We wrap it up with a discussion of a workshop that they talked about how they are dealing with children that are suffering from eco-grief. That is, they feel grief and stress over the things that are happening in the environment. You'll find it very interesting. So I hope you enjoy this.
So tell me a little bit about your talks that you guys went to that were within in mind.
I found it interesting. We live in rural Alberta, Canada, and so I deal with, these lifestyles around me, and one of them is 4-H. And so I went to a session where Google has now funded programs to skill youth through the 4-H program in AI. And so it was all about sustainable agriculture through AI, how 4-H is more than just horticulture now with AI. I find it interesting that Google would target or pick 4-H because that's the youth, and that's what they need, is the youth, to indoctrinate the youth, if we want to use that word, right, to bring them into adoption. And they had an 18-year-old 4-H'er, and he was talking all about how he was concerned about mental health. I'm just trying to find what he said about it. But that's motivating him to start building mental health models to train AI.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, in better mental health. And again, he didn't bring this up, but through a World Economic Forum, a few sessions that I watched about this, again, it's the wearables. So basically, you're wearing a device, could be your watch, could be an ankle bracelet type thing, where you go to the hospital, they take all your biometrics. Now it's implanted into a database within your country, soon to be globally, and then it's attached to this wearable, and then you go home and it's constantly monitoring your health, your heart rate, your blood pressure, all of that stuff. And they say through that you can identify this one country that's doing it. I always forget the country, but they're doing it, and they say that their breast cancer has reduced like 30% because they're detecting it early on through their biometrics within these databases. And so they're saying it's saving lives, right? It's like, what a great benefit. And sure, if that's what it was actually for, right? But
it becomes management down the road.
Yeah.
Isn't that, yeah.
But to that point is with the mental health piece, because we also attended one
We did.
about eco-grief, and how youth are having mental issues now within school over eco-grief, which we'll explain soon.
Yes.
And mental health issues, and it's just brought me back to the 4-H 18-year-old wanting to make these models for mental health that then obviously we know will be a wearable, and like who determines if I'm sane or not,
Good point.
Right.
It just brings up so many
there's so many
variables
because
that could all go wrong.
It's completely subjective, and it's a clash of values, because as we know, you can't have those values. Those values are not compatible. They think that we have mental health issues just by the fact that there's a number of atheists that think that Christians have mental health issues just because they believe in God.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
And I don't know, would we say the same thing about atheists? I wouldn't say that atheism automatically means a mental health issue.
No, not at all.
And but gosh, I mean, so many subjective variables that are not manageable
Right.
through that system.
I think, like, when you said, Audrey, how much money Google is throwing into the 4-H program to bring artificial intelligence into the farming community. Like, I know AI is big. I mean, I live in a farming community. I know John Deere has its own AI. Most of the manufacturing has AI already built in. It's integrated in, and at the very least at the manufacturing level, it certainly is integrated even deeper than that. I know with John Deere especially is integrated much deeper. So we always run into the problem of utility and technology when things don't go right. So I'll give you an example. A couple of years ago, my brother helps manage a massive farm. Okay, we're talking 15 to 17,000 acre farm. Big equipment, huge equipment. We had sunspots, we had solar flares, and knocked out GPS signal for 2 days. And he and the rest of the farmers in the area shut the tractors down. They shut everything down. They were seeding, and they couldn't seed. Not that the tractors couldn't run; they were running fine. But because everything is now guided with GPS, that dependency shuts them down because their equipment is only set to operate with the ability to use GPS. Your equipment is so big already, you can't see where your booms line up with the edge of where you've been spraying or where you've just, ran through your seeder, your air seeder. So if something like that shuts it down, I don't know, what happens when we AI ag, and then all of a sudden something goes, the circuit breaks.
Well, I think the bigger danger there is that we're trying to build out a supply chain that would provide a continuous area level support, but in the rush to get AI, they're not building out the electric grid fast enough.
Right.
So what ultimately really happens is they might install this AI, they don't have enough electricity to really support it to support the data centers and the AI, and so it's implemented, and then you get brownouts. Or blackouts. That's right.
Well, brownouts are worse than blackouts.
I'm sorry. In the Philippines, a blackout was called a brownout. We got used to calling it that. The power losses. Yeah.
Question: in all this talk, have y'all come across issues of like cybersecurity with AI stuff? Thinking about everything going on in the Middle East right now, in the last 2 weeks, we've had banks and other companies that have been hacked into and messed with by foreign powers. So what does that look like for our farming? If somebody gets really mad at us, can they go in through AI and affect our food supply? Can they, if we don't know the evolution of AI, if we're happy to say, because we're at such a high level of using AI for precision and maximum yield and all those things, at what point can they mess with our technology and just mess us all up?
And because AI is being looked upon on every domain of our existence, every domain, from transportation to supply chains to agriculture, every domain.
Right. So if that's true, then are we also making sure we're putting all the money in tech and investigating and study into, okay, if that's true and that runs every aspect of our lives, how do we guarantee that not only does it not go out, but it's actually working to help us instead of against us?
Right, exactly.
And if we actually ever did develop AGI, could we even guarantee that the AI, that the great intelligence collective might decide that we're actually not that helpful for it to continue to exist. You know?
I know. And you know, and we're only in day one.
Yeah.
So I know for you, Audrey, you've got Listen for Tomorrow. I think Brian, you do as well. The talk on AI energy infrastructure.
Data centers, yeah.
Data centers, yes. And the energy that's going to take for that. So I don't know, you know, Jimmy, to your point, there may be conversations around AI security, but we're really racing into this very quickly.
We're racing into it because we feel like we have to.
Right.
That's the thing. One of the things that's driving this is the feeling that we have to beat China in the AI race. Because if we don't, then China's going to end up dominating the world. That's a big driving factor.
But don't you think at a more low level everyday person, there's a bit of hubris there too. That idea of we want this because it's going to make our lives easier. Why would I mean? Yes, there are philosophical issues of what does this look like in the world stage, but the excitement of look what this is going to do for us, and aren't we advanced? And I mean, there is some of that idea of without thinking of the consequences.
Yeah. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
It's interesting because, yeah, you know, they're excited about let's get this implemented because of all these great benefits, but yet they're still holding workshops on how, you know, mental health and how we don't know how to communicate anymore, and how to communicate, we have to be intentional about it. And, you know, if we don't have to sit in a room with people we disagree with, and, you know, like they'll have those conversations but still push AI, which AI is causing, you know, like it's a circle.
So
like all of this stuff is a
thinking about
circle.
that in the education field, this year in Texas, they passed a state law, that schools must not allow kids to have their phones during school hours.
Okay. Interesting.
And so it's been mandated. This isn't good for you mental health wise. You have to deal with each
You have to
other.
interact.
Yeah.
And it wasn't working for schools just to say, okay, put it away. They had to actually create a state law, which means the schools can tell the parents, if your kid can't put their phone away, they cannot come to school.
Wow.
And it's been huge
Yeah.
because we've had these kids say, okay, you have to use your laptop, you have to use your iPad, you have to use your phone, and they're adept at it. They figured out, wait, it does make my life easier, and I don't have to think a lot. This is great.
I don't actually have to learn.
They don't have to work.
It's a serious problem. You can take a picture of any math problem,
Yeah.
and it'll work out the steps and show you everything. So why bother?
Right.
So now we've gotten to the place in education where we're buying blue books again because we can't guarantee a kid's not cheating.
Huh.
So schools are going back to buying a blue book. We will create a test that you have to do by hand in the classroom. That's it. And that's the only way I know that you are learning.
Wow, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
And think about that in what we're dealing with in the classroom versus what you guys saw today of
Yeah.
this is where we're going and this is the future.
Right.
It is very,
Aye.
But there's also the other side of it, and what those guys are actually doing. They want the population to be done. They want us stupid. They can control us all and put us in whatever.
See,
right?
I think there are some that think that, but I don't actually think that that's
That's the whole.
the whole goal.
Yeah.
Because as we heard, there's a number of people that are in the upper echelons of this that are really talking about how they want people to. They're pushing these ideas of let's figure out how we can make sure. There's even seminars at South by Southwest. How can we make sure that people learn to think and do learn to think even while they're using AI? I don't.
As long as they think like they do,
Yeah.
it's okay. That's why they want them to think, but think like us.
Yeah. And actually, that's interesting because we have this tension
Mhm.
between what is the narrative
Right.
and the freedom to operate your life the way you believe you should operate your life, but at the same time, all these pressures to conform back to the narrative given to us by who? The influencers that we've just been rubbing shoulders with. So interesting paradoxes.
It is an interesting paradox, and I guess that's my point. Is like, I think if we look at it and say it's just this one-dimensional group that they just want total control, that's a very simplistic explanation, and it's completely.
And from personal experience, actually hanging out with those one-dimensional boxes when I've gone to the UN and to World Federalist forums and things, they don't get along with each other.
Right. I mean, because it's not that, and there are people that exist that kind of tend toward that much one-dimensional thinking, but it's not everybody.
Right.
And because they don't all get along, they end up being forced to figure out how to, at least, put some semblance of working together. One thing that we found in the security world is we, as the Christians, working with government agencies, different government agencies that are not getting along with each other in managing a particular security incident, and we, as the Christians, are not part of the government, come along and help them to get along with each other.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and that's why what we get in the response is we don't in my experience is we have not gotten a sense that the government is just out to get us, or that there's we have actually generally felt like these people that are doing like the State Department, or when I had to work security in the Philippines, they actually appreciate what we're doing over there, even if they're not believers.
Right.
They actually like us. They might not agree with our philosophy.
Right.
But they so. And I just think it's in this whole city of God construct, where the city of God exists in parallel and right alongside the earthly city, we are always going to be in that vein. We will be the city of God operating in parallel to the earthly city, and that's the way it's going to be until Christ returns. And
there's going to be points of tension and points where we parallel each other, that type of thing.
But they will value us, and in some ways we value. But not everything they do is bad.
Right.
There are some things that they do that are not good. Absolutely.
We will benefit from the technology that's come out of events exactly.
I mean, I'm taking notes on my tablet.
I'm on my phone.
Right. So,
we're recording it on my phone.
I got a ballpoint pen.
Yeah. What's a pen, Brian?
I'll show you later.
Okay.
I think a little bit where Brian's coming from is you have to remember, like, we're Canadian, and we just had our. We're not getting into politics, but we just had our C9 Bill C9 go through today, and that is controlling.
Yeah, we do have some.
We have
dynamics
a lot of controlling things going on in Canada, and so then you can't ignore that.
No, we do have a government.
There is that element there.
Yeah.
But even within those environments, it's not everybody either that.
Right.
There's some sincere people that just believe they're doing their job. They see the benefit of it. They're sincere in what they're doing.
And that's
not realizing.
Right.
Yeah, they're brainwashed.
Well, that's also why. That's why I believe that as Christians, one of the things that we need to do is we need to encourage our brothers and sisters to get involved at whatever level that God's given you skill to get involved in, whether it's becoming, a doctor, an engineer, or an attorney, or a technology executive, whatever it is, all those skills, so that we can be in a position to hold the arrogance of man in check, and also to bring an element of righteousness in. That's part of our purpose.
Wherever we go, whether we're a tradesman or whether we're a farmer or a school teacher or a homemaker, wherever we are as Christians, that's our mission.
Do you remember the verse in Jeremiah where when Israel is, they're going into Babylon, and God tells them, go into the land, raise your families, get married, go into the city and live there and become part of the community. And they're going to be in exile, and they're going to be living under the authority of a pagan nation. They're God's chosen people that have to do that. And that's kind of a model of where we need to be as...
We still operate in the world. We're not of it. We just have to still operate in it. Brian, you were going to say
Yeah, I
something?
was gonna say words have power
Yeah.
because you don't know what your words are doing and how they affect the other person when you're talking to them. Because lots of younger people I'll talk to or whatever, and I'll say you should really do this or you should do that, and then a couple years later you don't see them again for 2 years, and they come back to you and they say, you know what you told me was right, and that's what I did, and now this is what I meant, right? So your words had power.
Yeah.
Right, and they took it to heart, and they actually did what you suggested, and it worked for them, right? Because they had a direction there.
Well, just like
So
that,
that's what we meant.
just like one young lady that we all encountered at Burning Man a couple of years ago,
Mm-hmm.
where our words had power in that now she's communicating that she's come back.
There was a conviction.
There is a conviction. She's now going to church.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. You're right, Brian.
And a lot of times you don't hear those stories though. You never know
Right.
what you're planting out there.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. I know we went off on a huge rabbit
Yeah,
trail.
we did.
Right.
But that's okay. I'll land it right back on you, Audrey, in terms of that talk that you guys, Brian, you were there with her that one. Right? No, you weren't.
Which one? I don't know which one.
On agriculture.
Oh,
Were you with the one on agriculture and AI? Or was it just,
I
you,
was.
you fell asleep during that?
That's a bit dozing then. Well,
So-
start talking you'll come back.
So what are the takeaways? What are the takeaways?
Well, the rep for Google that was there, she was talking about how important food security was.
Okay, yeah.
And so partnering with 4-H for food security, by skilling them in AI, they wanted, let me see if I can find that number. It was a huge amount. By 2030, they wanted I think 60 million youth skilled in AI.
And these are our farmers of the future.
Farmers' sons, yes.
Yeah.
Daughters.
Yeah.
Which I was talking to a guy from Brazil. There's
10
a,
million youth by
10
2030.
million youth. That's a huge amount.
Yeah.
and there's a guy from Brazil I was talking to who is, his job is to help go around and implement AI, literacy and functionality in schools all throughout Brazil. And he was talking about the different camps that Microsoft has set up and Oracle has set up for developing youth skills in AI all throughout, starting in Brazil, but then extending throughout other parts of Latin America and into the United States and all over the world.
Yeah.
These are things that they're trying to do. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting.
The other
Yeah.
thing to think about is how much farmland does China own in the States and in Canada?
Huge.
Huge amounts, right?
Yes.
So,
And right across Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they're not stopping, they're slowing down.
Right.
So,
Jenny, what time do we have?
It is 9:34.
9:34. Oh wow, we have so much more we could hash
Yeah.
through. So much
We're
more.
not going to get into eco-grief.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
know.
whole other
Probably let's
3-hour
we just do it.
conversation.
Can we turn because we did talk a little bit about eco-grief in the car, but
Yeah.
maybe do a 5 or 10 minute just
Go.
discussion of
Go.
eco-grief.
Okay.
Go.
Eco-grief. Eco-grief.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Carl and I and Ted.
Explain what eco-grief
Yeah.
is.
And we
first.
left early because we were starting to get irritated.
and,
I was getting irritated.
but to your credit, Audrey, you kept your poker face on. You did. Though I know I could see the invisible smoke
I
pouring out of your
looked
ears.
sideways at you once, and then I just went.
So an entire session on the emotions of climate change, centering on eco-grief for school children. So we had two educators who were telling us about the depression problem in the classroom, how in the 1990s there might be one student in the course of a year who has mental health problems, but now fully half of her class is suffering from depression because of this burden of carrying climate change on their shoulders.
These are 10-year-olds. She's talking
That's right,
about.
they're 10-year-old kids. This is grade 5. So that was pretty wild. It was all on climate mental health and trying to find hope in the midst of climate grief and eco-grief. And I guess probably one of the takeaways was this is a form of activation, because the bottom line, and help me with this, Audrey, I could be off, hope only really comes through action. You got to take action. Now that you've suffered this grief, you've suffered this trauma, now we have to engage in activities. We have to be motivated for change. This is their circle they drew. Believe that change is possible. Plan for a path forward. And we need agency to take action. Did we not just sit through a social revolution school right there? It's about action. It's not about education.
Right.
And that's why they're willing to sacrifice the children. Because what they're doing is, for the sake of this agenda of saving the planet based on, a very questionable science of man-caused climate change.
Right.
They're taking away children's hope, telling them that mankind is doomed because of climate change, that people have caused, some of whom are your parents and grandparents, or if it's not them, it's other people. But people are trying to destroy the planet for the sake of money. Again, where they're going is, that is a very one-dimensional argument on their side. This is one of those things that they're promoting that is bad, and it's a one-dimensional argument that it's all about money. And it's all the the energy companies, but they are looking to they're taking away children's hope in order to teach them this, so that when they grow up, they will be activists.
Absolutely.
Manipulated.
And what they're doing, and children need to have hope. They have hope for the future. They don't need to be, given this level of indoctrination.
Right. So one of the things that came up, and again, Audrey, they talk about spiritual armor. Did you catch what that was about?
I kind of did.
Yeah, one of the other, not the two speakers, but somebody in the audience brought up that hope is action, and it's really a form of our spiritual armor as we engage in this battle for climate change.
She was bringing up points about how, because the examples they were showing on the PowerPoints had to do with a book,
right,
where they took the students through this book, and it was to teach them how to do recycling and clean up the ocean and that kind of thing, right? And she said, well, that's, how did she put it, La La Land or something, because that's at a lower level, where you've got the older students now calling it out and going, well, okay, we can clean the oceans up all we want, but there's still blah, 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 right? And so all this hope that you're giving them through actions still doesn't solve whatever. So it's almost like, what's the point?
right,
Right?
right.
And so then she said that. So the educator then admitted that we can put all these actions in place, but we still can't solve the problems. So
Right.
she wasn't going to admit that until she was called out on it, and that it's still always going to be there, right? And so then so then you start thinking this through, and you go, well then what's the point?
Why teach what you're teaching?
Why teach what you're teaching?
Not gonna
Right.
do what you wanted to.
And the only thing you actually achieved is now
And so
you've
then
got,
she made that spiritual armor.
yeah, and now the only thing you have actually achieved is a generation of 10-year-old kids who are suffering from trauma and depression because they believe the world is going to end, and they have to carry that burden of saving the world on their shoulders. So they talked about this little booklet we came up with called The Tantrum That Saved the World.
Yeah.
Like, who made you the Messiah?
Is that like a
Kid's
a
book.
manifesto?
It's a little kid's book to help them to become activists to save the world. Because that's the only hope you've got to deal with this problem of this huge trauma depression that you're living under.
Do this
The
or
burden,
die.
the burden.
Do this or all of the entire world will die.
That's right. We have committed such an incredible example of child abuse, placing that kind of weight on their
Pressure on
shoulders.
them, yeah. And some kids will, some kids won't care.
Oh,
Like,
I mean,
probably, I wouldn't have cared.
I wouldn't have cared. You and I, Brian, we would have just, I get it. You and I are cut of that same cloth. We would have basically skipped school and probably quit even earlier than we actually did.
Yeah, that's right. Go fishing or something. But some kids will take it to heart and it'll really damage them.
Oh, yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
So I'm all about the messaging. And so what's the messaging, just even in that, is that we now have to worship, create the creation, not the creator,
Right?
right? And, I believe that God wouldn't create humanity and put them on a planet that couldn't sustain them,
Right.
right?
Right.
So,
Good point.
right?
Good
And
point.
so now because, mankind is destroying Mother Earth and now we have to have all this eco grief on our 10-year-olds, it's taking away a belief and a faith system.
Right. And
Right.
and from
And,
their
and
perspective,
making us love Mother Earth.
from their perspective, you're not allowed to believe in God like that
Right.
because one, it violates a cardinal rule of their idea of science, which is that if you bring God into the picture, that automatically means it's not science.
Right.
Right.
And that goes back to the beginning of the evolution, the evolution trials back 150 years ago.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll close it real quickly then with this thought. If the world needs to be saved, and the weight of the world is resting on our youth, and it seems to be despair, there's no hope, maybe what we need is AI.
Need AI.
AI to govern all of us,
Yes.
Right.
which is why the West in the Re-enchantment system is looking to develop artificial general intelligence because
Right.
they think that's what's going to save us.
Yeah. It's a salvation message.
It is exactly a salvation message. Even here at an event like South by Southwest, where it's non-spiritual
Right.
and it's mostly focused on technology and innovation and all these things, there's an underlying spiritual message
Yeah.
that permeates
Yeah.
what the philosophy behind what they're teaching.
The works of our hands will save us. Ah, interesting. We'll close it there. I've got more pages, but it's really long.
Yeah, really good.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
So that's it for our day one discussions of the things that we saw at South by Southwest. Stay tuned for day two discussions coming up.